So, a lot of Nnamdi Kanu supporters are wondering why the Court of Appeal has not yet fixed a date to commence the trial or the appeal trial of Nnamdi Kanu. You know, they've been postponing it, they've been delaying it and all that. And I'm going to show you something. You know, earlier this year, if you people don't understand what's actually going on, that the appeal might not even, go on, because Nnamdi Kanu's case got to Washington, D.C. You know, earlier this year, if you people don't remember, in the United States Congress, a rep actually stood up and actually raised concerns about Nnamdi Kanu's trial and detention and his extraordinary rendition from Kenya. The name of this particular U.S. Congress rep is Rep John James. You know, he actually moved a motion known as HRES 1321, and he called in that particular motion, he was calling on the Nigerian government to ensure, as a matter of fact, that all the legal proceedings that pertains to Nnamdi Kanu, just pay attention for you to understand why there is delay in Nnamdi Kanu's case and why the Nigerian government is even scared, as a matter of fact, to forge ahead with that particular trial. Now, this particular rep, came up and, raised this particular motion and called on the Nigerian government to ensure that all legal proceedings that involves Nnamdi Kanu are conducted in full accordance with Nigeria's constitution or constitutional obligations and international human rights commitment. This is the number one, motion he raised in the Congress House. Secondly, he equally raised concerns about Nnamdi Kanu's 2021 apprehension in Kenya. That is the illegal extraordinary rendition of Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya and transfer to Nigeria, his ongoing detention, including in Sokoto prison, the trial and conviction on terrorism charges and sentencing to life imprisonment in November 2025. This is why there is a whole lot of delays in this particular Nnamdi Kanu's case. Remember that the federal government in itself, even the Supreme Court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, failed to address this particular international crime that the Nigerian government committed. Do you know what it means for you to break international law by extraordinarily renditioning somebody, meaning you broke international law? Remember that Professor Patrice Lumumba from Kenya won that particular case on behalf of Nnamdi Kanu against the Kenyan government, and the court had to award Nnamdi Kanu 10 million Kenyan shillings, which is around 72 million naira. And the court ruled that the Nigerian government deceitfully collaborated with the Kenyan government to rendition Nnamdi Kanu against international practices, and for that reason, that they should pay a certain level of compensation, being 10 million Kenyan shillings to Nnamdi Kanu and all that. So it is an established fact that the Nigerian government broke that particular law, and the only thing, the reasonable thing to do is that you must, and that is why the U.S. Congress, this is a part of the things that the U.S. Congress is actually deliberating upon, because the U.S. government frowns at illegal extraordinary rendition. In fact, every developed nation frowns at it. You dare not come into somebody's country if you don't have a treaty with that particular country to extradite somebody. Nigeria and Kenya do not have any treaty. Even if they had, the Nigerian government did not even apply for any treaty to extradite Nnamdi Kanu or actually bring him back from Kenya. They just went ahead and kidnapped him because of the hatred they had for him. So the U.S. Congress is deliberating that, as a matter of fact, through this particular senator or Congress rep member, that the Nigerian government, the first thing to do is to return him back to Kenya, because he cannot build on illegality. It's as simple as ABCD. He cannot build on illegality, because if he committed a crime, he can't try, because as it is now, Nnamdi Kanu is a kidnapped victim. So he cannot try or be trying a kidnapped victim. It makes no sense, absolutely not. You dare not try a kidnapped victim. The first thing you should do is that you must free a kidnapped victim and allow him to go back to where you kidnapped him from, because that particular act, the court in itself ruled that it is illegal, and Nnamdi Kanu, as a matter of fact, remains a kidnapped victim. So these are the part of the things that this particular rep is calling on Donald Trump to actually implement and look into through the United States Congress House. And also he equally spoke about the resolution calls on the U.S. Secretary of State Mark Rubio to engage the Nigerian government on the matter, Kanu's detention conditions, and a related UN working group on arbitrary detention report. So this particular senator is calling on the Secretary of State, being Mark Rubio of the United States, to actually work together with the Nigerian government to equally verify and actually review the report that was given by the UN arbitrary working group that ordered the Nigerian government to free Nnamdi Kanu, which the Nigerian government then refused to obey. It's not today that the Nigerian government has adamantly refused to be obeying international laws. Instead of obeying them, they are breaking them on a daily basis, and later on they'll keep on asking why our country is being treated the way it's being treated, aside the nation. So these are the things that are actually going on underground. That is why, the Bola Tinubu's government is scared. Remember that Donald Trump's government is even monitoring Bola Tinubu because of all the Christian persecutions and a whole lot of things that are actually going on. So Tinubu do not even want to, anger him more by continuing with the trial of Nnamdi Kanu. And that is why the appeal is being delayed. Remember that the court gave this particular rascal judgment as of last year. How many months since last year? The appeal process has not yet started or commenced. They keep on delaying it and all that. They are scared. So these are the things that are actually going on underground. At this particular negotiations and these particular considerations, because the Nigerian government is scared since the matter has gotten to Washington and the congressmen are actually having an input. That means something is going to happen. So they don't want to forge ahead with that particular case. Definitely, Bola Tinubu is being pressure to use his prerogative of right, which is enshrined in Section 175 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, to free him, because the president of the country has the right to free anybody he wants to free, whether the person is convicted or still within trial. It is his prerogative, or it is his prerogative. He has the right and he has the veto power to do that. So these are the things that are being considered. So that is why there are no much update about the appeal case. They are just filing cases and all that. The Nigerian government is even much more scared to commence this particular trial. They are way more scared to commence this particular trial because now the news has gotten to Washington and the congressmen are actually pressuring the government. In the government, look at how you've been maltreating this particular person. Look at the kind of freedom you are giving to bandits and terrorists that are not unaliving Christians in the country. Look at how you call them repentant Boko Haram, but a man who was simply fighting for his people, trying to protect his people, is being incarcerated and sentenced to life imprisonment. Meanwhile, the government, created a program to rehabilitate terrorists and all that. Does it make any sense? So, Bola Tinubu's government is very careful. They are very careful, and that is why they don't want to even forge ahead with this Nnamdi Kanu's case, because it's going to raise more dust. But whether they like it or not, like I said, the United States government is much more interested and invested in this particular case as it stands now. If they like, let them prolong this particular appeal. At the end of the day, they would definitely free this particular man, whether they like it or not. There is no mention of West to that, because he has not committed any much offense. If you ask the Nigerian government, what did he do? They will tell you he said this through Radio Biafra, he did this. Those are his freedom of expression. Everybody has the right to free speech. Did you see him with weapons of terrorism like guns, bombs, anything? No. But those that you caught, the bandits, the terrorists, the Boko Haram members you caught with bombs and all that, you free them on a daily basis and you allow them to go. And you call them repentant and really integrate them to the society. So you can see the bias. And the United States Congress and all that are aware of all these things that are actually happening and the maltreatment they are giving to Nnamdi Kanu. Well, we are going to see how things unfold and how this particular senator, being this Rep. John James, is going to forge ahead to pressure the Congress and Donald Trump to actually pressure the Nigerian government to free him and free Nnamdi Kanu in the coming days. Do not to subscribe to my channel if this is your first time, because here we'll be dropping nothing but the truth. See you guys in my next video.